The Rugby World Cup draw is a little bit too early, folks. Let's have a look at the pools. They are on the board. You can see the teams as they are currently ranked. There's only one blank spot. The final qualifying winner from the repechage is still yet to be decided. But everyone else is on the board, including Samoa, whose jersey I am wearing. If you want to pick yourself up one of these jerseys, they're like 22 quid from Level Rugby. Link down in the description. They are an affiliate of the channel. You won't find many rugby jerseys cheaper than that. But yeah, the way the Rugby World Cup pools were drawn, as we sit here in 2022, seems a little bit wrong. Now, my understanding is that the World Rugby, for all their wisdom, like making the draw early, and it was extra early because of COVID, but they like making the draw early because that allows all the teams to get their logistics sorted and fans to get their tickets bought and hotels locked in. Basically, it gives everyone a bigger lead time, right? I honestly think, and they obviously want to sell all their tickets, but I honestly think you could do with a lesser lead time and still probably sell all your tickets. The World Cup is a pretty big event at this stage. I know it's not had the history in terms of length of years as some other competitions, but I think by this point, like the last World Cup was a roaring success, and I think you're probably going to sell all your tickets, even if you gave people just over a year, 18 months to get everything sorted. But no, we've had a draw which was locked in based on world rankings in January 2020. Now, I know most people don't care for the world rankings that much, but the one time they are of absolutely vital importance is when the Rugby World Cup draw is made. So all the teams in these two rows here, the final two rows, they all had to go through some kind of qualifying pathway to get to the World Cup. So these guys aren't going to change. Their position is locked in no matter what happened in terms of the world rankings or when the draw was made. But these first three rows, their Rugby World Rankings position directly correlates to where they were put into the draw. So in January 2020, when the rankings were locked in for the World Cup draw, Wales was the fourth team in the world. England were third, New Zealand was second, and South Africa were first. Kind of makes sense because these were the top four teams at the Rugby World Cup in 2019, right? The draw was locked in, or at least the rankings were locked in just after that. But what that means is teams like France who've shot up, teams like Ireland who's number one in the world, these guys are kind of punished for having the draw as early as it was. Japan should be a bit lower. Scotland should be a little bit higher. What it also means is you got the two sides of the draw, which is B and A and B, and then C and D. Because I say two sides of the draw because C and D play each other in the quarterfinals, and then likewise A and B. So winner of A plays runner-up B. Winner of B plays runner-up A. And looking at the world rankings as they stand at the moment, what that means is you've got South Africa potentially lining up against the All Blacks or France in a quarterfinal, assuming Scotland doesn't kind of sneak the pool, you know what I mean? Or, New Zealand facing Ireland or South Africa kind of thing. So you're only going to get two of the top four teams making the semis, guaranteed, because they can't make it out of the quarterfinals as the world rankings stand at the moment. That seems a little bit mad, doesn't it? I don't think there's many people who are arguing online on Twitter about, man, I'm really happy the way the world rankings are drawn. The fact they draw them so early is such a great thing. So let's just stop for a second and take a look at how these pools might stack up if they were drawn in a way that reflected their rankings currently, as we sit here just over a year out from the Rugby World Cup. Let's move things around. Right, there you go. This is how it looks with things moved around a bit. I'm just going to say I like the way this draw looks a bit better. So, remember, South Africa were the number one team. At the time, the rankings were locked in for the draw. So, Ireland are now the number one team, so I'm giving their spot to Ireland, if that kind of makes sense. I've just shuffled the teams around. If the balls were drawn with that same kind of ranked team rather than the name of the team going where it was. So it means you got France, Scotland, and Italy in that pool. So there's only one change in that Scotland comes into Pool B. Italy and France are the same, although France is the number one qualifier rather than number two. I think Scotland would rather that than having South Africa and Ireland in their pool, just quietly. Pool B will be Ireland, England, and Argentina. That will be quite the pool. Argentina and England have got a bit of history there, and then you got the Six Nations rivals in Ireland and England to go head to head. That could be pretty tasty. All Blacks, Australia, Fiji, a proper Pacific pool. That one in Pool C. I do think that could be pretty interesting. And then I love Pool D because Wales and South Africa always have real arm wrestle matches when they play, and then Japan and South Africa, in their short history of playing each other, have already got something of a wee rivalry, if you can kind of call it that. Do you know what I mean? So it's absolutely useless to speculate like this, folks, but I genuinely think a pool draw at around about this time, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe even before the July internationals, would have been a little bit more fair. I do understand that there's logistics which are probably mind-bogglingly complicated to get your head around, to get everything sorted for a Rugby World Cup. But correct me if I'm wrong, other sports don't draw their World Cup pools this early, do they? I'm sure other sports can draw it a little bit closer to the kickoff of the competition, right? So, as I said, it's not worth anything, but I do think it's one thing I would love to see change about rugby. Like, I know we all talk about what laws we would change if you had the power to do so, but making the draw just a little bit later, to me, makes infinite sense. Thank you to the people who have been playing with these ideas online. I've seen a few different kind of iterations, and I've had a couple of messages about these as well, about how the Rugby World Cup draw might look if it was made a bit more recent. So I'm far from the first person to have this idea. There's been a few people chucking some ideas out, but there you go. That's what one possibility might look like. We'll probably have a look at who the winners and losers might be towards the end of the year, once we know who this team is going to be, and we'll see how the world rankings change between here and when we get that final team qualified. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. What do you reckon would be a good time frame to have the World Cup drawn? How much time is enough lead time for you to get time off work, to get tickets, to get plane tickets? Obviously, with the COVID thing, it's been a little bit more complicated, so I understand that. But yeah, I do think there's a bit of wiggle room compared to what they've got at the moment. But anyway, you guys have any thoughts? And I'll talk to you guys again soon. Like and subscribe. Cheers. Bye.